Let's talk about me time. One of the reasons that sobriety can feel hard is if you associate drinking with having time to yourself. Perhaps it's long been the way that you reward yourself at the end of the day. Or maybe drinking is something you do when everything else is done. When work is over, the kids are in bed, dinner's been made, and finally, you get some time for you, when you don't need to do anything or take care of anyone else. So you pour a glass of wine and think, yeah, I deserve this. This is my reward. This is my me time. Well, that's all fine until alcohol stops making you feel so great and you no longer like the side effects. So you start to think about stopping drinking. And part of you wants to do that. But another part of you is thinking, well, if I quit drinking, what will my reward be? I'm still going to have to do all the things I've got to get done each day, but then I won't even have something to look forward to. I'm not going to get that me time. Unsurprisingly, that doesn't feel very appealing. And so you then have this kind of internal conflict and struggle over what to do next. Does this sound at all familiar? If this is resonating with you and you would like to change it, let me share some thoughts on how to shift out of this really awkward place. I think the first thing to do is to examine this idea that when I'm drinking, I'm taking care of me. Like, I've taken care of everyone else, so now I'm taking care of me. This is what I deserve. This is my reward. You're right, of course, that you do deserve a break and you do deserve to be taken care of. But alcohol isn't doing that. It isn't looking after you. It doesn't care about you. In fact, I want you to start thinking about all the different ways in which drinking is not self-care at all. Because alcohol stops you from getting the sleep that you need. It makes you feel lethargic and ill the next day. It makes you do things you regret, makes you more anxious and more prone to depression. Drinking is what has you waking up on the sofa, wondering what time it is and who you texted and what you said last night. When you think about it like that, it's kind of obvious that a drug with those side effects isn't taking care of you. Self-care shouldn't make you feel awful the next day. But the reason we kind of miss that logic is because we're constantly being told that drinking is self-care, that it is a reward and a treat and it's what we deserve. We hear this through adverts and friends and social media and cultural messages that we get around alcohol. Personally, I realised that I used to drink at night because I hadn't learned how to care for myself properly. So I drank instead. I drank to get disconnected from my feelings, and I completely ignored the fact that those feelings were probably coming up for a reason. They're like warning lights on your car dashboard. Feelings are trying to communicate something to you. And they were trying to get me to do something, to change something. But what I was doing instead was just drinking at those warning lights. That isn't taking care of yourself. It's just distracting you from figuring out what a better life might look like. So right now you might be thinking, okay, I hear what you're saying here. Alcohol isn't taking care of me. But if I don't drink, how am I going to switch off? And what is going to be my reward instead? What am I going to do about facing all those feelings that I've maybe been drinking to try and avoid dealing with? It can feel overwhelming, I know, if you think that you have got to turn into this kind of perfect person overnight in order to be sober. Let's just think about what would be good enough to get started with, because actually, we don't have to fix everything at once. And right now, there is probably an easy win sitting right in front of you. I mean, just have a think about what else you do when you're drinking. Are you watching TV, reading a book, having a bath, talking to your partner? Are you scrolling through Instagram, checking your WhatsApp messages and catching up with friends? Or are you listening to music or enjoying some peace and quiet? The chances are that you have paired a lot of relaxing, enjoyable activities with drinking. But because you've been drinking, you've given alcohol the credit for the pleasure that you got from that stuff. When in fact, all those activities are great in their own right. And you should carry on doing them because you enjoy them and you need that downtime. You know, sometimes people tell me that their strategy for not drinking is just staying busy all the time. You know, they end up doing chores in the evening. And I always cringe when I hear that because I know that isn't going to work or be sustainable in the long term. You need fun and relaxing activities, and you can totally enjoy the things I've just described without drinking. So try doing the things you know you already like, just without alcohol. You might want to switch it up a bit. So what I mean by that is, if you drank in bed whilst watching TV, maybe you watch TV on the sofa downstairs instead. Or you make yourself a different drink to have in the bath. Or maybe chill out in a different space. But give yourself the chance to experience those relaxing activities without alcohol. And that means not just trying something once. Allow yourself to get used to doing something different. You've given alcohol a lot of chances, so now you're going to want to give sobriety some chances too. Let it settle in. Being sober doesn't mean having to be on all the time or facing all your feelings. You can still switch off and check out from your life by binge watching Netflix if you want to, or getting lost in a book or escaping into a bath. That stuff works, and it all gets better and better with time, because when you're not drinking and you're, choosing to quote unquote numb out with a movie instead, you wake up feeling fine the next day. You don't start the new day feeling awful. And after a good night's sleep, the stuff that you wanted to escape from the night before might seem a tiny bit more manageable. And without alcohol in your system, you can manage stress better. So then you get to the end of the next day feeling less wrung out, and your days just seem a bit more doable. And maybe after a while, it occurs to you that actually there are some changes you can make. Or because you feel better, you stop being so awfully hard on yourself all the time. So you start seeing things more positively or feeling more capable of making changes. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's amazing what can happen when you stop pouring a toxic poison down your neck every night. But this all starts with you seeing that alcohol is making things worse, not better. And you don't have to have everything figured out to begin. You just have to start. And now is as good a time as any. So I'm Kate B. Wherever you're watching this, please scroll down and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this. And I hope you have a great week ahead.